Welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I am joined by
Hillary,
Sarah,
and our special guest today is comedian Jen O'Neill.
hi. Thank
Welcome,
you for
Jen.
having me.
Thank you for being here.
I'm super excited.
We are super excited to have you.
Yep.
Super excited to talk about this movie, 1985, Just One of the Guys. So why don't we get started and talk about what everybody's experience with Just One of the Guys was before the podcast.
Were we all alive? I was.
1985.
I was definitely alive.
I was alive.
Nope.
I was not.
It was-
alive.
Yes,
It
these
was-
are the millennial
I was-
contingent here.
I wasn't born until three years after this.
Oh, wow.
I was born 6 years after this.
Oh, my God. I feel so old. I was 5 years old when this came out.
I was 5 years old also. Yeah,
Yes.
79.
I was, yeah.
Carter was still president when I was born.
But I remember it. I can't remember if I watched it at 5, but I definitely remember watching it young.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me all sorts of weird feelings.
Weird.
It did.
That makes sense.
I feel like that's an accurate description
I mean-
of the reaction to this movie. Weird
Yeah.
feelings. Yeah.
It's like, there's boobies in it, but then there's also like a cute guy that kind of looks like Ralph Macchio, but it's really a girl.
Yes.
Yes.
And then
I
there's,
found myself
dealing with
very attracted
yeah,
to Terry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I was very attracted to Terry.
I would have definitely been into Terry in high school.
Like right around the
100%.
time that Karate Kid came out, right?
Yes,
So
and
it
Ralph Macchio
very
was a
much-
heartthrob, and like this
Yeah.
kind of like skinny-ish kind of dude with the little skinny ties was a very in thing.
And
Yes.
fun fact, William Zabka is in this movie and plays Johnny Lawrence
Yes.
in Karate Kid.
Well, he was
and I
the
had
bully
to-
in every movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that they reference Karate Kid in this movie.
They do.
When the girl, what's her name? The one that has a crush on
Sandy.
Sandy. When Sandy was like, he looks like Ralph Macchio and he dresses like
Oh yeah, dresses like Elvis Costello.
So
I had no experience with this movie. I knew there was a movie called Just One of the Guys
Oh, this
because
is very exciting.
Like when I was in like middle school, high school, I was like, I had this great idea for a movie about a tomboy whose friends were all boys, and I would call it Just One of the Guys.
And
then
that movie already exists.
I found out that movie already existed, and I was
Not
really
exactly.
sad. No, that's not like what this
exactly.
movie's about, but I was really sad that my title was gone because I thought it was so original.
Yeah. Okay, so no experience for
No
Hillary.
experience.
Sarah?
I had no experience other than the fact that Nicole, in the past, when she was telling me about film school, said that one of her professors directed this.
That's
Really?
That's
That's
true.
all that I knew
Whoa.
about this film.
Yeah, my professor Lisa Gottlieb directed this film.
that is so
My
cool.
film professor.
Oh my God, I would have been starstruck.
So just going back a little bit in time, I don't know if you remember this, Jen, but I saw this movie hundreds of times when I was a kid because it was always on Comedy Central. Like
Yes.
every weekend this movie was on. And looking back now, I'm like, I should probably not have been watching this movie. Like my tiny prepubescent brain was not really capable of understanding the complexities of what was going on in this movie.
Right.
It introduced me to a lot of things I was just not prepared to deal with.
Right.
But my friends and I watched it a lot. I remember where do you get off having tits was like
I
a
love that
phrase
line.
I
that
thought that
was
line was so great.
commonly spoken. All right, so that was our experience with Just One of the Guys. So let's get into talking about this movie, Just One of the Guys.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man.
You look stupid and rich.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's get into this film. Just One of the Guys, 1985. That's okay. Pour yourself the wine. You deserve it. Just One of the Guys, 1985. Directed by Lisa Gottlieb. She was the only woman involved. All the producers were men. All the writers were men.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That explains things.
Like every female character in it besides Terry's was your quintessential ditz or your
I can see that.
And
ballet
Bimbo.
girl or
Yeah.
your
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
I can see that.
Yeah. I forget what it
Hillary
was.
has
I think
a
I have it written down somewhere in
Disgusted
here.
look on her face right now.
Where, I don't It's like,
But they did the same thing to the men in the movie.
They did. The men
It's
were
like
the men were
nerds the
disgusting
nerds.
idiots.
It was like a Saved by the
jock.
Bell episode,
Yeah.
where
Yes,
it's like
the
the
bully.
nerds were Trekkie nerds. The bully had like, you know, the bully outfit, which was
He did. He put
denim jacket and
put gloves on every time he was getting
Yes.
ready to beat somebody up.
fingerless
sensitive
gloves. If there's
Like biking gloves. Like
Yeah.
are you hopping on a cycle?
loner.
I will say
Oh,
though, I
Rick.
loved the aliens. The two that pretended they were aliens.
yeah, what's that guy's name? He was
They
in
were
a
my
lot of. He
favorite.
was
Air
in the
Gross.
Ellen.
Air gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that other guy I've never seen in my life besides this movie. But yeah. All right. So let's get to the beginning. So
Okay.
the very first shot. Does anybody remember what the first shot of this movie
It's
was?
of her in
Panties.
bed.
Yes. Just
Yes.
like a long tracking shot up of her body.
Her body, yes.
I honestly
in her
thought
underwear.
that you had just downloaded porno, and I
Yeah.
was like,
And you were
accidentally
like,
watching it.
finally.
And I was like, "Ooh, Nicole, you bought the wrong, just one of the guys."
You're like, finally, I can get behind this. Yeah, so a long tracking shot up her body, resting on the lacy, as if to say, like, this is a woman, guys,
Right.
right at the top there. And then, of course, she gets up and walks out onto the patio naked, which, as you do.
Yeah.
You
Can
know.
I interject on that too? Of
Sure.
the like, this is a woman thing. Like, she's still like 17 in this movie,
Yeah, which
and
is
like,
gross.
I have a big problem with like people sexualizing like high school and middle school girls. I think it's
Yeah.
real gross.
Which happens several times in the movie,
Yeah.
actually.
And it's just it's so gross to me. So like this first shot, I was just like, oh, isn't this about high schoolers? I'm not okay with that.
It is very gross. And now that you mention it, something that happened very common in the 80s, I think that was done a lot. Like, I think there was this whole like Porky's. I know Porky's was like a college movie, but have you guys ever heard of Porky's?
Yeah.
You have, of course.
Yeah,
We
'cause
grew up in
I'm
the 80s,
old.
right? But that was like the sex comedy, which I think had kind of a resurgence in the 90s with things like American Pie.
Absolutely.
Oh God,
yeah.
I hate American Pie.
Yeah.
I think this was kind of part of that. And so I don't think at this particular time period we're in, I don't think you might not see something like that dealt with in
No.
that way right now. Okay, so we start off, the first character we meet besides Terry is her brother Buddy, and they're having breakfast
And when they
together.
had breakfast, there was like something like they like looked at each other, but it looked flirtatious, and I was like,
Oh.
"Who is this? Like, who is this? She's having
So you thought they
breakfast
were
with?"
flirting during the movie, or just this part?
So I thought that they were flirtatious throughout the whole film, but not like gross flirtatious, like film flirt. Like I feel like in films,
But still.
like, it was a little. I don't know.
I guess I mean I didn't see that, but
Well, I was confused about their relationship in this first scene, just
maybe
because
he's just
like
so horny
standing
he'll just
there,
do
like,
it with anyone.
reading a Playboy, and I
Yeah,
was
he's
just
reading
like,
a Playboy at breakfast. I mean, all the men in this
Yeah.
movie are like disgusting rabid dogs.
Oh, totally.
except
Yeah.
for
Except
Rick.
for Rick.
Yeah. And then we get to meet Kevin, her douchey boyfriend, who comes to pick her up for school.
Kevin's the worst.
How old is he?
He's in college.
Is he like 30?
No, he's in
the movie
college.
He's in
He's probably, like,
college, but
Jesus.
21.
Yeah.
He
There
just
were
didn't seem like a college guy.
were
All of
so
these
many.
people did not look like they were in high
Well, that's
school.
true.
he was a frat guy though. He was wearing his like Sigma Nu.
Right.
Yeah.
But there were so many people throughout the movie,
Catch that.
like that had like were in high school, but were like had like receding hairlines and mustaches.
yeah,
That's a good point. That's a good
full
point.
on-
Mustache?
Good
You
point.
saw mustaches?
Yeah, like there, you know, the scene where she's handing out
The towels.
towels.
I love that scene.
And they're so like grown men easily in their late
It's true.
30s.
I think
are
another
playing high school
common
characters.
80s move
Yeah.
cast really old people as teenagers.
Exactly.
Like that was
Exactly.
like really common.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks okay. So now we go on to the scene where she's what is the girlfriend's name? Is it Denise? Her friend Denise?
Denise.
So they're in the library and they're talking about guys, and Denise is lamenting that she's had 3 guys ask her out, but apparently none of them
I know.
are good enough. But Kevin is a god. According
Oh,
to
yeah.
Denise.
College.
Right. She's
Oh,
like,
that's when I realized this movie was written by a man. That's that line. I actually have it written right here. I bet this movie was
Raise
written by
your
a man.
hand at this table if you've ever referred to a man you were dating as a god.
never.
Nope.
No one's hand is raised.
That's because it never
A piece of
happened.
shit.
I've called
Yes.
a man Adonis in a joke once.
Yes.
In a script.
Yes.
But
Usually, when I'm attracted
Never.
to someone, I call them adorable.
He's all
I
right.
think the nicest thing I've ever said about a dude I was dating or my husband is like, he's good. He's a good dude.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a
He's
good
a good
guy.
dude.
He's a good one.
He has a
Yeah.
good heart.
Yeah.
He is Zeus.
But I've
I've
never called anybody.
never called him a god.
No.
I've
No,
never
actually, that's
elevated him
sacrilegious.
to a deity-like status.
I mostly just sit in my room and hope they pay attention to me. So one day I have the opportunity to call them a god. But it doesn't come.
There was one line in this where a guy calls a girl perfection, which I feel like I hear a lot in
Yes.
movies, guys saying stuff like
Well,
that.
that reminds me of that episode of Friends where Chandler, if anybody else is with me here, Chandler is trapped in the ATM vestibule.
with,
Yeah.
with
And he's
the-
like, gum would be perfection. That is what I immediately thought.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I was like, Chandler.
Oh, what was the name of the model that he was? It was Jill
Jill
Goodacre.
Goodacre,
Jill
yeah.
Goodacre.
I'm trapped in the vestibule with Jill Goodacre.
Okay, so she's talking to Denise, and then this is when we get, as Sarah mentioned, some exposition about the contest. This contest is really important. The whole plot kind of hinges on this contest. There's a writing contest. So Terry, we didn't mention this, but Terry is a reporter at the school newspaper, I assume. That seems to be what the situation is. Or
Right.
she's taking a reporting class. I'm not sure about that. It's not really clear, but she wants to be a reporter. There is a internship up at the Times, the Sun Tribune. The reporter, all the school reporters are competing for this internship, and Terry feels pretty certain that she's going to get it. So after lunch, the teacher has told them that he's going to put the winning articles that are going to go on to compete for this internship into the trophy case, which seems like a weird place to put them, but okay. So he hangs them up there, and everybody's just going to show up and see whether their article is there. And Terry's article is not there. She feels like the other two people who won are not. They're both guys.
Both men.
Doesn't feel
course.
like they deserve it. And she immediately heads into the student newspaper office or whatever to go and challenge his opinion of that.
But she overhears him and another teacher talking about how hot she is. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
I think they're talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
were they talking about
No,
her? Or
they're
different?
talking about her. They're
Terry.
talking about how hot she
Yeah.
is.
Like, did
that
you
makes
see
it
what-
worse.
Did you see that
Did
Terry
you see
and
her legs or
was
something? What she was wearing
Yeah.
and like.
And he said
That was probably one of the grossest moments
And
in the
then
movie
they
to
said,
me.
I say we flunk her and keep her here another year.
yeah.
Because they
And
were
then
joking about
the newspaper teacher guy was like, "Be careful, you might lose your job."
Not be careful, you're a disgusting fucking pig.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was very upsetting. And she does not deter her from walking up to him and like talking to him about how she
Yeah.
feels like she's been unjustly treated.
Right. Which is impressive.
Yeah, good for her. And again, I think I want to say right off the bat, I think there are a lot of moments where the character makes really bold, empowered choices, I feel like. And I don't think that's a thing that you see commonly in an 80s movie.
But she's allowed to because
Especially
she's
with
pretending
teenagers.
to be a man.
Yeah, that you could argue that. But I also kind of wonder if and I know that Lisa did not write this movie, but I can't help but think that her influence is in there in some way, in the way that character, because if you look at just the storyline of the character, right? I think that character doesn't have to be as strong as she is, even though she's going and masquerading as a man. Like, I think you could have had the character come in and be sad and meek and cajole and try to bargain her way, but that's not what she does. She's like, this is wrong, I'm talented, and you just don't see it. And like, she's very strong and firm, and it's the actor, but I think it's also the director's choice
Right.
to make that character be that way. I mean, Lisa herself was a very brash, ballsy, no nonsense, no sugarcoating, lady.
Now that I'm thinking about the context of this movie, like how she was like, she had to work for all these men and there were no female writers or producers. And she probably got that.
She probably felt like
ballsy
this.
person because she felt that she had to be to survive this industry being a woman.
I mean, I don't want to speculate because we never had a conversation about this movie, really. She wasn't embarrassed by it at all. Like, she would reference it from time to time, but I think she had probably a lot of students come in there wanting to joke about like, where do you get off having tits? And she was just not having it. Like, she didn't want to joke
Right.
about this movie. So we didn't really talk about it very much. But I have to wonder, as a woman in the film industry now, and I can't imagine what it was like to be a woman in the film industry in 1985, how it may have felt very much for her like Terry, to be constantly
yeah.
having to fight to seem legitimate and to not be judged by the way that you look and to be seen as somebody who's got something special, just as special as any man.
And another thing about Terry's character is that throughout the movie, she isn't, even with Kevin, who's her boyfriend, that is supposed to be like the more dominant person in the relationship and the older person, she still, like holds the reins, and she still puts him in his place, and she still is like, no, he's dumb, and so even when in situations where she should be, most women would feel awkward or embarrassed, like in the locker room when all the men are naked and she's holding the towels. She's sitting there with the towels, like she is in a position of power. She's making fun of them as they walk by. Yeah. She's handing them towels and telling them like cute butt or in her head, or whatever, and saying like she's a powerful character throughout the movie, and she never for a second puts herself in the role of like that she buys into what they're telling her she should be.
No, she's never ditzy or she doesn't flirt to get what she wants. Like none of that. And I don't think the movie is written in a way that could not have been a choice. And I think we should address this too, the sort of subtext of like the closeted teenage boy, which I think is also a part of this movie. Hillary's looking at me funny.
Elaborate.
We're gonna get there. I feel like I think that's part of this movie too, and I didn't see that until this time that I watched it. But there were certainly times where people made fun of her for cross-dressing, as they called it. Right. But this movie in the 1980s, I mean, could have gone balls to the walls with making fun of transgender. But she was treated as like she was really trying to blend in. Like it was not played for laughs. Right. Her being a dude.
That's true.
And I think that was a choice by the actor and the director. And I don't think the movie was necessarily written in a way that it had to be that way.
That's true. Because if you look at,
I applaud that.
She's the man. Yeah, she's the man. The Amanda Bynes one.
Yeah.
I mean, that one, it's definitely played for laughs. Like her appearance and the way she acts and like the tampon in the nose and all of that stuff. Like the whole gag in that is like, she's not really passing. Yeah. But in this, like she does pass. You're right.
She
that
very much
really
seems like a dude to me.
I did like this actress a lot. I think she did a great job.
And
great.
What's crazy is when I was looking at all the IMDb's of everyone on the entire cast, she, out of all of them, never really did anything else.
I know.
She maybe did like one or two things, but then never went anywhere. But I thought that she was arguably the most talented person on the entire
was very
film.
Interesting. She was an interesting actress. She was engaging. She was charming.
Yes.
So Kevin is not particularly sympathetic about this thing that's happened at school.
No.
Right, no.
Yeah, he like tries to console her in his own weird way.
Well, but he's not consoling her. No. He just immediately asks her, why do you double knot your bikini tops?
Yeah.
And she's like,
he's like, I'm really busy trying to get this top off right now.
Yeah. He's
but
not
also
listening to her at all. He's just...
But also generally he's like, why do you care about this thing? Like, why do you care about being a reporter? Like, why don't you just be a model? Like, she's like, he said I should be. I can't remember if she brings it up or if he brings it up first, but the model thing comes up again.
I think he brings up the story about how, and she thinks that, he's interested in what I'm saying for a second because he starts to talk about how he always wanted to be a fireman. And then it wasn't until he found out how little that they made, and that's why he didn't want to be a fireman anymore. So for a minute, she thinks that he's engaged and he actually cares about what she's talking about. But then she says, he said I should be a model. And he's like, well, you should, babe. You're gorgeous.
This is so hot. Yeah, and it's like,
yeah.
I'm not... Ugh.
The fireman story is a little condescending. It's like he's sitting a child on his knee to talk about when I was a boy.
And I do feel like I need to say, like, what's so funny is when I started, I've seen this movie a million times when I was younger, and when you gave it to me and I turned it on, just before the movie even started, like in the opening credits, just thinking about like what the premise of the movie is about, I chuckled at how archaic it seemed. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this movie is about a girl having to do this to prove whatever. And I was like, things are so different. And then I was like, Are they?
No.
Are they?
I would say no.
I know. Like,
I would say they're
then
not.
5 minutes into the movie, I was just like, no, this is still pretty.
It's quite relevant.
Yeah, like I feel like there's
Yeah.
still a lot of women
Very
who
relatable,
go by
yeah.
initials instead of their name.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like it
Absolutely,
makes
yeah.
them androgynous sounding.
I
and
have considered coming up with a fake name when I submit things to
Yeah.
festivals. I'm not going to lie to you.
Nick
I have thought
Kemper.
Nikki Kemper.
Yeah.
I hate that
Nicholas
name
Kemper.
so much. I wonder, as an experiment, what if I resubmitted this film or the script to this
Right.
contest of course I write about women, so that probably would discount me.
but they'd probably be like, "Wow,
Like,
this
how
man
progressive.
writes
So
so well
progressive.
about women.
Yeah.
How progressive."
So during the scene is the first time that Terry mentions, back to the bedroom with Buddy. This is the first time that Terry mentions that she wishes that she were a guy. She's like, if I were a guy, I wouldn't have these problems. I would be taken seriously. And basically, Buddy's like, you don't want to be a guy because men think about sex nonstop. It's a burden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like it's like men's
Personal
bodies
hell,
have
yeah.
to have sex at all times or something like that.
Yeah.
God, that would be a really gross universe that we lived in. Guys would be so
Must be.
sticky.
Guys would be so sticky. Well, honey, I'm going to go take a shower again. I know it's the 14th one today.
Sticky.
It's like everything that you would encounter, like couch cushions, pies.
Oh man.
Pies.
Everything would have
Pie
to
would
be covered
just-
in plastic.
Yeah.
It would be like living at your grandma's house.
Yeah.
but
I
with-
think this next scene is one of my favorite scenes where Bud teaches her how to like walk like a guy, like stand like a
Yes.
guy.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Terry shows up later that night. Terry shows up at the door and tricks Buddy,
Right.
pretending to be a dude. She's dressed in his clothes, and then Buddy is basically like, "Yeah, only because I wasn't paying attention, but you would need some help." So
Right.
he teaches her how to walk, how to scratch her
Which
balls.
I like that he like teaches her
I
how
did.
to do it.
I love the
like,
scene.
That's funny.
I really love the scene.
There was one line that is my favorite line in the entire movie. He says, "Guys take up space,"
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Damn straight."
they do. Yes, they do.
The line I took
Manspreading.
Yeah.
Man spreading. Yeah, definitely.
The line I took away from the scene was, "All balls itch. It's a fact."
Yes, I love that. She's like, maybe my balls don't itch. And he's like, all balls itch. Like, very serious.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen men scratch their balls just like casually in front of me, and I'm like, we were just like having a
Like,
conversation about like our French class, but
I think they just
Cool.
like to remind themselves that they're there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a
Nose
security.
What if we
it's like a
constantly were,
security
like,
blanket.
adjusting our boobs? Like they would find that.
I mean, I get itches down there, but I'm like trying to like.
Can you
squirm
imagine
in my
if we
seat.
started
Now I'm trying to be
scratching
all-
our crotches like in the middle of
Yeah.
like,
God, that would be so. It would be so great if I could just do that whenever I wanted to.
Yeah.
So she decides she's going to pretend to be a guy, and she's going to resubmit the article, the same article.
Yep. At a different school
At a
that
different
she
school.
is just able to come in and register for classes
yeah,
at.
that's weird. It's like you just went through this, Nicole.
I
You
have
I was
to
thinking
say,
this. I was thinking about this today.
I feel like I wish that it was as easy to hop schools as it was in this movie,
Yeah.
given the enormous hell that I went through today to try to register my child for first grade. But yeah, she just shows up in a new school, like just pops on over there.
And gives them a name.
No
and-
parents
yeah.
to sign her into this new place. Their
Yeah.
parents are out of town. I don't think we brought this up, but the parents.
Or just
There are
gone.
no parents in this
for
movie.
2
None.
weeks,
Yeah.
which they say for 2 weeks, but the movie seemed like it spanned over.
Yeah, because of the week and a half, the article was due in a week and a half
and
itself.
she felt, I don't want to spoiler alert it.
Spoiler alert.
Should I spoil- Okay.
If, spoiler
Well,
alert for
she-
1985's.
Okay,
Just
so
one of the
she
guys.
falls like in love with Rick
does, yeah.
over the course of 2 weeks, and you would think that somebody as strong-headed
Yeah.
as Terry would not allow herself.
I mean, who could resist those doughy eyebrows, though?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
And he definitely wasn't in the movie The Lawnmower Man. I don't know why anybody would think that.
Rick reminds
That
me of
was
a
not
good
him.
friend of mine from college. So like,
Who
I
was
can-
also a bad actor.
No, well, he's an okay actor. But he like reminds me of a good friend of mine from college. So like, I saw him and I was like, all right, like I can see how people would
I
be
can get
attracted to this
behind
guy.
this.
I thought
I
he was
cute.
cute for a
Honestly,
bit.
I probably would have thought he was cute.
He, I don't know
Like
if I
his
would say he was
personality.
cute.
Well, his personality I thought was like really
I thought his
endearing.
personality
But he
was-
was
What I
he
mean,
was
that reminds
the
me
most
of.
human male in this movie.
Yeah.
He was
Yes.
wise beyond his years.
He
too.
was
seemed
he
a
was
lot
I liked his
older.
cute
So
thing about
dorky.
the James
So
Brown thing.
cute.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, if
He's
this
so
was
dorky.
real
He was
life,
so
he would be
cute.
the guy. I always would end up with the nerdy, jokey guy.
Yeah.
And if you notice,
That's for sure.
I noticed this, but in Terry's room, the posters on her walls were like Bruce Springsteen and Elvis Costello.
Oh, yeah,
and
which
then
were
he
the
was
same.
really into James Brown, and I was like, you guys both have great taste in music.
Oh yes, they both
So
did. She's
it
like
makes sense
Prince
that
and
they-
Elvis Costello, and I was like,
Yes,
But I thought she said those things because she thought that is what guys are into. Like when she was listing
But
her.
not
she
at
had the
her-
posters on her wall.
Oh,
She did
okay.
in her bedroom. She
and
had Elvis
and Ernest
Costello.
Hemingway.
Yes.
She had a poster of Ernest Hemingway.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean she
And
probably got it
Bruce.
out of Teen Beat. I'm thinking
Yeah, probably.
Teen Beat.
that
Yeah,
that
right.
Hemingway spread in Teen Beat. So she goes to the new school. She's got a new look. She looks cool.
She
Like,
she
she
really does. Like
looks
she does
fucking
it, but
cool.
she does it with style.
Oh
She
yeah,
cut her hair into like this men's style.
but it's like
But it's so good.
nice.
It's a good
Yeah.
haircut. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like either gender.
I'm like immediately attracted to Terry the dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Sarah
yeah.
is making a face.
I like very, very tall, big, muscular men.
So Terry
You
was
like
not
a
doing it for
gorilla.
you.
Terry's not doing
Gorilla,
it for
yes, a
Sarah.
gorilla.
So maybe old two towels in the gym scene. Maybe that guy.
Yes, more
you like-
more two towels.
You like the two towel guy.
I don't want
with
a
the
one towel guy. I want a
mustache.
two towel
only
guy.
like twice as big
Yeah.
big as that.
The guy who looks like a 30-year-old.
So, and then this is the first time we're introduced to, I don't remember the actor's name, but the character's name is Greg, and he played the bully.
William
in like,
Zabka.
William
Everything.
Zabka in every movie in the 1980s. He was the bully, including the Karate Kid, of course.
Yep.
And he is giving some kid the most intense wedgie I've ever seen.
But before that, he's talking about jacking off.
Oh,
Oh, you're right. He
Yeah.
was. He was
They
indeed.
were all
cho-
just
yeah.
standing around talking about jacking off. And
What
their
did he say
tips.
about it?
I
don't remember.
Do guys
but-
give each other tips on that? We don't have a dude
know.
at this
Sure
table
they
to
do.
verify. You think? But do they like stand around in front of the school like this is what I would recommend? Is that what they?
They were like,
Like,
last night I
use-
sat on my left hand for a while. And then
So immediately they have a conflict here outside the school where she's trying to fit in, right? Like so she's
Yeah.
making fun
Yeah.
of the kid getting a wedgie. She's not at first I was like,
Right.
oh, she's gonna come in and stand up for the kid. That is not what happens.
No.
She's like trying to be like, oh yeah, cool, and he's not. He immediately picks her up and throws her into a bush, right?
yeah, he's like new kid and like throws her in the bushes.
Puts
That'd be
his
stupid.
I'm about to beat the shit out of somebody gloves on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always like talking to his posse like he's giving some kind of instructional workout video for beating up nerds, right?
Right.
He's like
Yeah.
talking about the lift and how much you can lift and you got to bend with your knees and whatever. And he also says just what we need another
You're right. I just realized that. When he lifts the cafeteria tables, yeah.
Mhm. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, and then take a deep breath. And on the exhale. And he also says to her, just what we need, another pussy. So, which not only is funny because she has a pussy, right? So
Right.
that's kind of funny. But also, like, it's the first of many times that the word pussy or tulip or something having
Yeah,
to
he
do with the
calls
woman's
him
anatomy is
a-
used as an insult
Yes.
repeatedly in this movie. So while she's in the bushes, she meets
Rick Morehouse.
Rick
Yeah.
Morehouse.
And right when she meets him, I'm like, she's gonna fall in love with him. That's the guy that there's gonna be the love interest. For some reason, I just knew. It's just the way this movie was set up. This movie was very simple, like in its structure. So I could just tell that this was like the meet cute, the fall into
Well, yeah.
a bush and meet cute.
But she didn't seem like immediately attracted to him in like she didn't get the googly eyes I thought. I didn't see that. But maybe
Well,
I
she
just
wouldn't
didn't.
have
She
because
didn't
she's
at
pretending to be a
first,
girl,
yeah.
pretending to be a boy.
Right. Like I feel like she was talking to him like a dude, as you would any dude stuck in a bush with another dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've
I
all
know, but
been-
it was the
we've
fact-
all
it was
been
the
there.
fact-
Totally
It
differently.
was the fact that she met him at all.
Vintage porn scene if I've ever heard of one.
So now we're in English class, and I believe this is when we're first introduced to the nerds.
Yeah, the little alien dudes, which were
take-
awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Please
I loved
go ahead.
them. I thought they were hilarious. Did nobody else think they were great? I wish I had known.
I thought they
people
didn't
like
add
that.
anything to the story, and I thought they were distracting.
Oh, see, I just thought they
Sarah
were
was like,
comic
"Less
relief
nerds."
in a movie that desperately needed it.
They were just the most stereotypical nerds, Trekkie. They spoke in, I don't know what Star Trek language is, but that's what they spoke in.
So here's my theory. I think these guys are not actually high school students. I think they are aliens.
Maybe.
Because I've watched a lot of 80s movies, and nerds are
There's a lot
a
of aliens.
staple of 80s movies. And I've never seen a movie where the nerds spoke as though they were aliens.
That was why I liked them so much, though. They were so dedicated.
They've talked about being interested in Star Trek. Caricature, over-the-top nerds are very common in 80s movies.
Right.
Like, they were a staple, just like the bully and the hot popular girl. Nerds were just part of it. But they, seem like they were even maybe doing research. I was like,
So
this
do you
is a
think they were,
fish out of water story. Maybe they're doing the same thing, but they're pretending they're wearing human skin.
Like
and they're from another
the sun
planet.
kind of
Like
thing.
if this were a Gary Marshall sitcom, they would be the Mork and Mindy to the
Yes.
Laverne and Shirley.
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
They are
Yes.
parallel.
You've got it. Nailed it.
I thought they needed a little bit more story, or to just be out of the movie completely, because they
I
didn't.
think that somewhere in their high school on some other planet, they got passed over for a internship, and they are writing an article wearing human skin, and they're going to go back and turn in that article and see if it gets them the internship. That's what I'm saying.
I think you're on.
Nicole's going to write just one of the humans.
Yeah, just one of the
Just
out
one of
later
the
in
humans.
out early 2017.
Yes.
Look for it.
Look for it. All right. So next scene, we're in the gym. Well, we started in the locker room where men are just walking around in jock straps with their butt cheeks hanging out.
Which
Is
I would
that a
just
thing that happens?
No, I'm sure it does not.
So she's in the locker room. Some guy shows her his penis rash,
Yeah.
which again, I'm not sure how common that is in the locker room, but I'm
Yeah,
just
I
going
don't
to go
think
with
I've ever
that.
just whipped out my pussy and been like, "Hey, have you ever seen anything like this?"
Do you know what that creature is crawling around? I'm not sure.
Ever happened to me before?
So she immediately has a problem because they're all undressing, and I assume the reason that she doesn't want to undress is because I know she's wearing her brother's underwear. So it's not like, she's got her brother. He says that she's wearing his underwear,
But
Yeah,
she
but
has
she has
boobs.
boobs.
but she has boobs that she's taped down, so she
Right.
can't change in front of the other guys. So she decides to, in a very ballsy move that could have led to a lot of
Set the
devastation
school
and
on
death. She takes a towel and wraps it around the sprinkler system and lights it on fire so it'll set off the sprinkler.
I just want to say in this
That's
scene,
fucking arson is what that
It
is.
is. I know.
did anyone notice that their mascot was the Beavers?
No, I did
Oh,
not.
no.
I
Said,
can't believe
"Go
I missed
Beavers" in the locker room, and I was like, "Oh, that's so great!"
I
their
didn't
mascot
notice
was
that.
The Beavers.
And this is the scene where she fakes the stomach ache because
Yeah.
First, say they get into different teams, and
Mm-hmm.
then the coach goes, "Shirts, skins."
Right.
And then the guys who have skins, they're like they take off their shirts,
Right.
and she's on the skins team, and she's like,
right,
no.
so she's got to take her
Yeah.
shirt, and she's wearing as many clothes as possible. She's wearing 3
Right.
sweatsuits and more gym clothes on top of that. Like she's just doubling up on the gym clothes, and so she fakes the stomach ache so she won't have to take her shirt off. So the next scene is she's talking to there's another teacher who's in charge.
This is the scene that I realized this is a new school.
Reporter.
I'm not.
did not understand. that
I'm
was
not good at,
confusing.
at
It
paying
is.
attention
Oh
to
my
things.
God,
I was just like, okay, let's get this going.
You're like,
and so
"Where's
it was
her-"
this
You're
scene,
You're
and I
like,
was
where's
like,
Denise?
I was like, oh yeah, it's a new school. Good job, Sarah. Or like, did they not have a scene that
You're like,
described this or
"Wait,
something?
wasn't that guy white?
Like I feel like
at the
in a
beginning of
different
this
movie they
movie?
would have had a whole scene where she registered for a new school and did the whole new. So they didn't
And I
have
feel like
that.
they would have been a lot more visual, make it visually different.
Like,
we
this
would have
school
seen a
would be
different-
the red school, and this would be blue.
Right. Or maybe
everywhere.
we'd see
Yeah.
the name of the school or
Right.
something.
yeah, it
Right,
just
yeah.
looked like the same place, the
It
same.
did.
Or
don't
maybe
know.
even there'd be a line where it's like, how are you going to pull this off? Oh, I'm just going to go to the school down the street.
Yeah, no, it didn't occur to
I mean,
me.
it didn't. I did not find it confusing. But again, I've watched this movie. I've seen this movie so many times that I don't know when I first saw it. It's like I just was aware that she went to a new school, so that was not a problem for me. So she goes to this other reporter teacher,
Right.
and he's read her. She's submitted to him the same exact article. Like, so
and
I guess
he didn't like it.
He didn't like it,
That's
which is
what's
interesting.
so interesting. It's like the whole idea of the movie is supposed to be based around like if I'm how you accept the same work from a male versus a female, and so it's like she kind of disproved her theory by when the new teacher was like, this isn't very good.
Her writing is fine, but it's boring.
Yes,
there you go. Yeah.
Though, and she didn't get any feedback from the other teacher.
Yes.
The other teacher was just like, go be a model. And this teacher,
I think that's an important distinction.
Yeah, that's true.
And here's the scene where I would argue that this movie is actually very clever. Like I think that the writing is very clever in this movie at points. And here's an instance where that happens. Because yes, you would think that it would either be absolutely it's because she's a guy, or it isn't, or whatever.
Right.
But it's not. It's very gray here. She doesn't enter with him talking about her body or her legs like she does in that other scene.
He gives her constructive.
He treats her like somebody who has a chance.
Yeah.
And again, you can argue like maybe this is
potential.
Right. He says she has potential, which you could argue maybe this is a different teacher, different style, different attitude, whatever. But he definitely treats her as somebody who's got a shot, which is not what happens in the other.
Right.
But so so her plan to just submit the article and get it does not work. And she has like a week and a half to turn in something that's better. And she decides that she's going to continue going to school dressed as a guy and make this into her story. That's going to be the story she writes. Mm-hmm. So the first person she tries to make friends with at the lunch is Reptile guy, who is feeding a rat to a snake. So that quickly goes south. And she decides to sit down with Rick.
She's like, you want some company?
Right.
You want some company? I think it's so, it's admirable that you could just walk up. Can you imagine just walking up to a person in a new school and being like, do you want some company?
Yeah. She's like trying to bond with Rick. And then Sandy, this is when we first meet Sandy, because Sandy is like on the sideline. Sandy, who has a crush on Terry. She's like,
right.
It's a fox.
And that's when she refers to him as being looking like Ralph Macchio.
Yeah. Right.
And dressing like Elvis Costello.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is played by Sherilyn Fenn, who was a star on Twin Peaks, which I just recently watched with my family.
She was good. I thought
Yeah,
she
she
was
was
her.
good.
She was the second person I thought that was a good actor in this
Yeah.
movie.
And her character was very endearing. You want her to meet somebody.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
loves her
because
as
she was
much.
supposed. I think she was supposed to be the.
Yeah.
Again, could have played this girl. I want to say again, this woman could have been played. This girl, sorry, because she's a teenager, could have been played as like a ditzy, sexy bimbo, and I really didn't feel that. Like it seemed like she really like wanted to connect with him. Like yes, she was using her sexuality, but like I feel like she was a person.
Right.
So I liked that. The next thing is she has arranged with, she sees Rick and she decides to give him a ride home from school. Mm-hmm. And Sandy hits on him first. I keep saying him, but Sandy hits on Terry first and she's just not having it. She's not interested.
And Rick invites her into his house. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They sit and talk about
They share beer.
Girls and sex.
And James Brown.
They rap man to man about chicks and shit like that.
Yes. Over a beer. Was
I'll
it
take a
drinking age
brewski.
still
18?
at
I
this
was wondering
point?
that myself because
they
they
all
seemed
very
like they were all
casually
drinking
had it,
very
yeah.
casually. Yeah.
But I mean, I did in high school.
Yeah.
And
that's
all
true.
of their cans just said beer.
Yes. Good old movie beer.
But this scene reminded me of I Love You Man, where like Paul Rudd's character goes back to Jason C. Siegel's character's like apartment, and like it just I want more movies like that are like, I know we want more movies about women too, but we usually don't see the inner workings of male
friendships.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I really saw that playing out here and I thought it was nice. But this was also, I think, the moment in the movie where I began to feel like there was also some subtext here about being a gay teenager in the 1980s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that she's a woman dressing as a man, but she's very convincing as a man, and everybody else is treating her like she's a man and assuming that she's a man. So in all her interactions with Rick, as she starts to have feelings for him, I was starting to see like kind of like a little bit of that struggle of like a boy being in love with another boy and having to pretend like they're not. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
I really, and the way that, you know, the way that Terry is treated by the bully and how he's called a pussy and a tulip. And it all felt like, to me, in a way to explore that without actually having a gay character. That's what I was feeling at the time.
And I think that we're all just you know, I don't know if it's our age or if it's just like that times are different now, but we're just way more aware of that struggle and hypersensitive to it and compassionate towards it. Definitely. You know, whereas I think I don't know if that's what they were going for back in the 80s or not, but
I would not be surprised. I feel like
I just kind of disagree that that's what they were going for.
Okay.
And just because like it's not about a gay man, you know, and to say that like the experience of a gay man can be summed up in like 2 weeks of cross-dressing and pretending to be a man.
I'm not exactly saying that. I'm saying that the 80s was not comfortable with talking about that in a mainstream movie.
Yeah.
And I think that you can expect that there were gay people in the 80s just as much as there are now. Yeah, and that there may have been people that were using that as a way to explore that.
Go for though, because like even at the end of the movie, when Kevin kisses her at the prom, they can't even say the word gay. You know, like Rick looks at her and says, like,
"You're right."
Ooh, no, it's fine. You're, and like he can't even say the word like you're gay. It's fine. Like,
well, he actually does say you're gay.
He says it later when she takes
when she's telling him.
Okay. Yeah.
And he treats it in a very sensitive way, I would say.
Yeah,
as
Rick
well.
is sensitive.
I think your point is very valid, Hillary. But what I'm trying to say is, I recall as a child from the 80s that people we're very much used to gay people being a part of TV and movies, like their gay characters. But in the 1980s, gay characters did not exist as real people. They were, if they were in the movie at all, they were always like a flamboyant, over the top, kind of like that character from Troop Beverly Hills who's sewing her outfit. Remember, she takes the outfit to the guy, and he's like very flamboyant.
Yeah.
Or like I don't know if any of you guys have seen Mannequin, but Hollywood from Mannequin, like that kind of gay character was something acceptable, but you never saw like a tone down. I'm just saying, I think it's possible that that subtext is there, and because it felt very grounded, and I know that it's not a man. I know it's not a man, but I don't think you could have told a story about a young man being in love with another young man in 1985. I don't think that's something that people would have accepted in a mainstream film.
They also
anyway, that's just something that I felt when I was watching it.
I'm kind of in between both of you, but like they had a transsexual joke in the film.
They had a lot of transsexual jokes.
No, I mean they used the word transsexual, which is not really used anymore.
Not anymore, but like back then, I think
he said tranny actually. Like at the end when he was like Buddy makes a joke to his sister, and he says something like "you tranny." Something
it was something about transsexual growing chest hair or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that really like rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, oh, so we're making fun of transgender and gay people, like
they did do that a couple of times. Yeah. They joked about sex change operations and stuff like that. And that is something I would have expected from this time period. I'm actually saying I was surprised that there was not that much of it, that it was there were few instances, I think. I'm not excusing any jokes about that, but in this time period, I would have expected it to be there to be more in a movie like this than there was. And it surprised me that there were fewer.
Thinking back to that time period, and if you were to take a director that was not a female and it was a male director, I could totally see scenes being different. I could totally see scenes between her and Rick being like, get off me, or like, don't touch me, man, like things like that. Yeah. But instead, Rick's character is very sensitive and very accepting and very like, it's okay, like I get it, like, you know, and being supportive of his
Yeah,
friend.
absolutely.
Versus like I can see that if like in that time period that if things had gone a little different, maybe if the director was different, maybe if the writer was different, I could see the same movie being like, yo, dude.
Yeah, there was none of that really. Not
whatever.
Not from Rick, like maybe from the bully. And even Kevin seems to be very like not aware in the later prom scene. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But like at one point, Terry even it was the moment I really felt it the most was when they're, and this is much later in the movie, so I know I'm jumping ahead, but there's a moment where after she's kind of given him his makeover, she like brushes his hair behind his ear.
Yeah, I noticed that, and he doesn't go stop it. He doesn't
flinch. Like there's like a moment where they realize that it's happened, and then she moves on from it very quickly. But he never seems put off by it or grossed out or upset. It's just like a thing that he's like, whoa, that's kind of weird that you touched me.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, but he doesn't react at all.
No.
He just is like...
But in that moment, I was picturing a boy. And again, I want to emphasize that this is not a story that they would have told in a Hollywood film in that time period. I'm imagining what it would have been like for a boy who is 18 to just reach out and touch put your friend's hair behind his ear, and forget for a second that you can't do that.
Yeah, or
that's what I was
like
feeling in that moment.
The smaller gestures where she makes him a sandwich and said, "Eat this," like I brought this for you, like things like that.
Right.
You know, just like smaller signs of affection that seem so innocent, things like that.
I did love a lot of that, how like sweet they were to each other, and yet they were dudes, and it made me like feel like I hope that all dudes have like a dude best friend that they can like bring a sandwich to and like brush hair behind their ear. And,
they should. It would to have a deep friendship. Like women are allowed that. Like women are allowed. Women are allowed to touch each other, and it's acceptable. Like you can if your friend has hair in their face, you can brush the hair of their face. If they've got something on their face, some schmutz, you can wipe the schmutz off. Like it's okay.
You can hold hands and watch a movie.
Exactly.
And it's fine. Yeah. It's like. Anyway,
that was just something I started to notice that had not occurred to me in previous times that I had watched this movie. Right. So basically, the next big thing that happens is Terry's in the midst of writing this article, and she decides her next project is to get Rick a date for the prom.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Sandy kind of gets wind of what they're up to, and she basically says, "Hey, if you go on a date with me, I'll set Rick up with my cousin." I don't remember her name. Jill.
I have a big problem with that scene.
Oh, yeah,
that's an issue.
Big problem.
Jill.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Well, it's not a camping scene. They're like,
Yeah.
If I go to the
Fireside
cave.
beer drink.
fireside beer drink on a cliff.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Jill.
So conventionally, Jill is not attractive, but they make a lot of
Jill
jokes.
is
Jill's
12.
like in the 6th grade.
Yeah, she's 14.
They say in 5
6th
years,
grade.
Jill's going to make a man really happy, or in 5 years, Jill's going to make him really happy.
Yeah.
Also, she literally talks about
and
the
she
6th
talks
grade.
about the 6th grade is so bogus.
Look at Sarah's face. Like this just
did you
totally
not realize
rocked
that?
your world.
No, I thought she was like commenting on how like unattractive she was or something.
Oh, so you thought the whole scene was about
I
like
thought the
making
scene
fun
was
of that
about
she was
making fun of-
unattractive.
Yes.
No, it was just she was
like
literally
an
a
infant.
child.
She was a baby.
Yeah.
She looked the
Out
same
with
age as the rest
grown-ups.
of them.
I don't think
no,
so. I think
she
she
looked
looked
much
younger.
younger.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think she truly looked 12 because that would have been fucking
and she was
disturbing,
also
but
the
she
only
definitely
one
looked
drinking
younger.
a Coke too, which was what like kind of tipped me off. Is they're all drinking like beer, and then
Oh
she
man,
has
now
a
I feel like an
Coke.
asshole.
I think that the first line out of her mouth was something like,
Something
"I
about this-
swear, the 6th grade is so
So-
bogus."
yeah, it's so
yeah,
Yeah. So they're like right off the bat, like, let's tell you, he's on a date with a 12-year-old.
yes.
And then they go off into the cave. I mean, I know he didn't do anything.
They go off for a walk.
Yeah, well, he takes her off for
so that Terry and Sandy can bone or whatever. Like Terry is getting very drunk.
Yeah, which I would too.
But I'm very uncomfortable with this 12-year-old on a date.
I did
I
not
know,
get
it's
that at all.
weird. Yeah, that's
I
what
was
it
like, I was preemptively like defensive about people making fun of ugly girls. So I was just
I
like,
didn't think she was ugly. She was like
No, she would be
normalish
cute.
looking.
I mean,
but she was
little
She'd be
Well,
normal looking when she was
the
like
character.
18 years old.
Right.
She'd be like a fine looking human.
Like she
but she was
literally
also
hasn't
12.
grown into her body yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like her features were too big for her face because she hasn't grown yet.
Not comfortable with
It was
this.
super gross.
Made me not comfortable. Sarah,
Such a dick.
making me
I'm like,
laugh.
it's
No,
not-
it's okay. You just missed that
Yeah, that line.
crucial detail
Yeah.
that she was in 6th grade.
Has that ever happened to any of you? Like where you've like gone on a double date and the
With a
other
12-year-old?
two were
No.
just like, "We'll give you 2 a minute," wink, wink, and like walked off.
Well,
like,
maybe in
everybody
high
fully
school.
on
I think the
phone.
implication was that Rick was like, I'm not going to get anywhere with this 12-year-old. So
Yeah.
we're just going to go for a walk so that you guys can do whatever you're going to do. I think that was the implication was that Rick knew I've been had by Sandy.
Yeah.
And she set me up
also-
with this kid,
Yeah.
and now I'm just going to take this kid for a walk. I feel like that was kind of the
And
implication
at that
there.
point, Rick and Terry's friendship was based on the fact that they were trying to help each other get chicks.
Right.
That's
So
true.
he was
Yeah.
like, "Hey man, I'm gonna."
He was being a wingman.
Still,
Yeah,
just
he
I
was
like-
being a
think
wingman.
that probably that does
Wingmanning
happen
him.
in high school. Like not adults. Adults don't do shit like that. But I think
yeah.
probably like high schoolers.
Disagrees. So Sandy goes right for the
Right for the peen.
and
right for it.
Like,
she just
right.
pulls those tube socks out of there.
Just like
she
she
was
was
gonna whip that dick
gonna-
out no
she
matter
was
how
just-
soft it was. She's like, I want it.
yes, and not put off by the
She's
socks
not
at
put
all.
off at all.
No.
She's not like
Every
she was
this movie is
flattered.
surprisingly accepting.
I would have.
She was.
She's like, you shouldn't have tried to impress me.
She was so flattered, but I feel like again, this is a thing that females will do if like females make exceptions.
Yeah.
For if they like a guy and if they're attracted to a guy, they will make exceptions for why you're
Puts tube
still
stocks in
so
it. That's-
great.
yeah.
Like
That's
no, you
great.
didn't mean it, and
Yes.
you're tired or you're stressed. You know,
Every guy.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yes.
and I feel like that's what she was doing. It's like
Yeah.
she decided I
like
like
this
this
guy.
person and I'm going she said very adamantly, I will get him. I'm
Yep.
going to get him.
gonna get
And then
that
so
D.
she wasn't gonna let the sock thing
No matter how floppy.
Yeah, no
deter
matter how
her.
floppy.
She was like, no, this is
or
great. I'm
hidden
so
just
into this.
gonna-
Thanks for being so
tube
cool.
Rip that penis right out of the pants.
She like yanks it, like her arm goes all the way back.
I know.
and
I'm
she was
like,
just,
if that
gonna
was attached
break
to a
that thing
human
off.
body,
like
I cannot
whoa.
imagine the
Terry
injuries
she
that
was
would have
starting
been
a
incurred.
lawnmower.
Also,
Worst hand job ever.
Can you imagine like reaching in someone's pants and feeling something that is the thickness and texture of rolled up tube socks in there?
No.
My hand would be out of there so
Oh my
quick.
God, that
I
would
would've been
feel
like, there's
so
something
weird.
wrong. There's
With your
something
penis.
wrong. You need to go to a doctor.
Your
It's
penis
way
is
too
very
textured and dry.
spongy. Just want you to know.
Oh my
That's
god.
not what skin feels like.
Oh dear. All right, so back at
Gross.
home, Buddy is trying very hard to molest that math tutor.
Very,
Yeah,
very.
with some
and Kevin's
Andre
being
cold
such
duck.
a
with some
cockblock.
cold duck. But he's like wearing a smoking, like he's dressed like Mr. Adams from the Addams Family. He's dressed like Gomez Adams a little bit, and
Or like
he's got like an ascot on and a smoking
Terry
jacket.
does at this point
No, I'm
in the
talking
cave?
about Buddy.
Buddy.
Oh, Buddy,
At
yes.
home,
yes,
he's
yes.
like wearing
Okay.
a smoking jacket.
and he's
Yes.
sitting like on her.
He's being very Hugh Hefner. He's like,
Yeah.
she has
Oh, okay. Maybe
great-
that's
yeah.
it. Kevin comes. What? Wait. Does
Kevin's there the
home
whole
first?
time.
Yeah. Kevin's there
Yeah.
with the cock block.
Yes.
Right. And is really just ruining Buddy's
Being a
game.
real dick.
The math tutor Linda does not seem bothered by Buddy at all. Like she's just kind of going on
No.
with her thing, not threatened by his
The
advances.
feeling I got was that she was there for the math answers. Like he was doing her homework for her was the feeling I got.
I didn't get that.
I was confused by her braces. I thought she was the smart one.
She seemed. I thought that her character seemed very prudish, and then I thought it was a surprise when he said, "Would it make a difference if I told you I were hung like a horse?" And she said, "Maybe. Are you?" And like that, she looked like a 14-year-old girl, and so it was surprising to see her say that.
Again,
And it was actually a
sexualization.
bear.
She
It
looked
was
very
actually-
young.
It was actually very gentlemanly of Buddy to be like, "No, I'm not. I lied. Good night."
Yeah.
Whereas normally,
Well, she would have found out about
a
three
dude
seconds
would
after
be like,
that.
"Yeah,
That's
totally."
true.
This is
Yeah.
the smallest bear I've ever seen. This is Boo Boo Bear, not What's that bear that used to eat all the picnic baskets?
Yogi.
This is no Yogi. This is a Boo Boo.
Oh, I love that name.
I don't know why, but it seems like Boo Boo would have a small penis. Okay, so
Terry comes back and sees them in there.
Right.
she's
Well,
like,
Terry is wasted.
Oh yeah.
And like
which I thought was
crawls
hilarious.
over sees that Kevin is there, crawls over the porch, and immediately tries to like woman up a little bit.
Right.
By making her hair look kind of,
But
mussed
she
and-
really just puts on like a gray sweatshirt.
yeah. So Kevin is pissed that she's late and grossed out by her hair. What
Yeah,
did
he
you do
does
to
not
your
like her hair.
Yeah, he said that she looks like shit.
But yeah, he does not like her hair, and I'm like, fuck you. She looks
Yeah, she looks
smoking
good.
hot with that hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, when
Linda
she's
likes her hair.
obviously hammered, and she's like, "I need to go to work right now." It's
She's-
really
She's like
important
super
article.
hammered. He's like, "Are you drunk?" And she's like, "No." So the next day, Terry's hungover, and this is when Terry decides to take Rick shopping.
My
to
note
make
is
him over.
Terry goes to
Oh,
Rick's
which-
house. She apologizes about Jill being ugly, ? I'm
I think
still-
she was.
I know, she
Yeah, no, she does
she
apologize,
apologizes,
but I think
yeah.
she's like, "I'm sorry that you were on a date with a child."
Yes.
I wish I had gotten
think
that
that was-
because I was again pissed off.
You have,
that
like, a
they were
page.
You're like
referencing.
so angry.
I'm sorry, she's so ugly.
They don't have now. Here's the only thing that I think is missing, and I'm just gonna have to hope that it was on the cutting room floor. I feel like we're missing the getting Rick a new outfits montage.
Oh,
I
Yes,
know.
we totally
I
missed
know.
Where's my montage?
Like exactly. You cut out the worst part. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. You cut out the best part of makeover montage. You glossed it. There's so many scenes in the movie that I feel like are cuttable and disposable, and then that one scene that would be the most
I
satisfactory.
can take away my montage.
Yeah, I mean, he does look good.
Do you think
after
they shot a montage and cut that?
Maybe.
Probably.
I'm wondering.
I'm gonna say yeah.
They
80s loved makeover montages.
I mean, what movie doesn't?
know.
Maybe Lisa was like, "Not in my movie."
Maybe.
Maybe I don't know.
Um,
So we skip that and go to. Are you okay?
No, I just wish there was a montage. Like I'm picturing it right now.
Hillary
It
looks
was so
really
great.
upset. I was
Like,
concerned that
I'm
you
really
received
thinking
some
about
very
it.
bad news
No.
on your phone,
oh,
but you're just
man.
really disappointed about the lack of montage in this
I
movie.
want to see like some poor outfit choices and some frowny faces and some
Yeah,
shrug
and some
shoulders.
shrugs, yes,
Like,
and like some like
Fingers in a lapel, you know.
Yeah.
Having his hair blown
Giggles. Like,
out.
That would be a really
Like running through the
great.
mall with shopping bags.
That
And, like,
would be the falling in love
Terry
scene,
watching
right?
him from a distance, like enjoying his new like persona, and she's like can't help her. She realizes, oh my god, I have feelings for him.
Yeah. How about the scene
All
where
this
she
stuff
moves
is
his
missing.
hair?
And we were missing some kind of
Fucking
catchy
Lisa.
80s tune.
Yep.
Come on, Lisa. Then I think we're
I think it's then prom.
prom. We're at prom.
Prom.
We're like pre-prom. We're pre-prom, which is Buddy wallowing in his self-pity.
Yes.
And Terry's dressed, looking very nice in that tux.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, we all had to tape our boobs down for 80s dating video remix.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did to get those giant gazungas of hers to be as flat as they are,
I don't know. Miracles.
but it could not have been comfortable.
Yeah.
Because her chest is very flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when she like rips off her shirt, there's
She's not wearing
I'm, like,
anything.
she's not wearing
shocked.
any kind of
Yeah.
binder.
Right. Well, I think that there's a leap in logic there, obviously,
Yeah.
because there's no way those puppies were going to be contained in that tux without some
that.
kind of
and
ace
also she got
bandage.
soaking wet when they threw her in the ocean.
Yeah, I
and,
know. And just
you
wearing a
wanna see
white
her
shirt.
nips
Yeah.
immediately.
So Buddy's going to stay home and wallow in his virginity, as he says, because his parents are going to be home, I don't know, tomorrow or something. They've been
Yeah,
gone for 2 weeks.
something
They're
like
going to be
that.
home soon. And Buddy still has not lost his virginity, which apparently was his goal for this
is
trip.
so he's like the American Pie part of this film.
Indeed. He's just trying to pop that cherry, I guess, right? Is that something boys do? Do they pop? No?
Okay, pop cherries.
Oh, they but they don't get
But
their
they
cherry
don't, they don't
popped.
get their they don't get their cherry
Oh,
pop.
they don't get their
Oh,
cherries.
well, what's
popped,
the
I think.
euphemism for boys losing their virginity?
Um,
Isn't there should be one, right? Because there's like 1,000 ones for women losing their
becoming a
virginity.
I think it's-
man.
But
Or
that's when
like-
you just
Is that
have
just
sex.
for-
That's,
Dip your wick or something.
Dip
I've
your
heard.
wick?
but that's
Isn't that
maybe
something-
that's like
just-
from my grandfather.
that's just when you have
That's
sex.
something your
that's
grandfather
not-
said.
I don't know.
You're like,
I don't
it's
think
some
my grandfather ever said that.
It's
I think
like,
it's just
you
an
know,
old-timey
I
phrase.
found this stack of letters in the attic that my grandfather used to write to my grandma during the war.
Yeah.
And I'm
Like,
pretty
get my
sure Dip
dick
My
I
Weck was
just
in
need
there.
to dip my wick.
God, that sounds horrible.
June 14th, 1941.
I love the day that I can dip my wick.
Oh, God. All right. So Terry's on the way. Buddy briefly mentions Kevin and is kind of like, are you through with Kevin? And Terry's basically like, yeah. Like, does not seem upset about it. I guess the implication is Terry is now in love with Rick.
Right.
So doesn't seem to care. Honestly, never seemed to care too much about Kevin, let's be honest.
I think she was too smart for that.
Yeah. So then we go to this, it's like a giant prom on the beach.
Yeah, which I would hate to
Yeah.
have prom on the beach.
Why? I thought
Because
it was cool.
my heels would have sunk in the sand.
that's
I also
true.
just hate sand.
And just the
Sand
humidity.
everywhere. Yeah.
Everyone's hair
It's a
would
good
be
point.
fucked.
I was
Yeah, that's
actually
true.
thinking it seemed really cool to have the prom on the beach. They've
I
got all
thought that
the-
was
the
cool, but I didn't think about
lanterns
the
and-
humidity in the
Yeah,
hair.
I didn't think about the practicality of it.
The
But-
wind.
yeah, I just hate
Not
sand.
good.
The salt on
Yeah.
your dress. I don't know.
Just find
Seems
sand
romantic.
everywhere every time I go to a beach, and I'm just like, oh, I hate it.
I was also thinking, just purely from a directing standpoint, I was like, damn, that's like a lot of extras.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of extras to
lot.
deal with and like a
What, at the
band.
That's so
Prom?
funny. I was thinking
Yeah.
that too. I was like,
I was like, it's a big scene right there at the prom.
But it went on a little bit too long. Like I feel like
the dance
the,
sequence.
the
Yeah.
dance sequence went on a little bit too long.
And then there was the band who was making eye contact with Denise, the whole
Right,
yeah,
yes,
the
the
guy in
band
the
guy.
band who was probably in his mid to late 30s.
Yeah,
was so
I'd
gross.
say
That was
late.
so
This is
yeah.
a common thing, though. So, like, Kevin is a lot older than Terry, which everyone seems to be okay with.
Right.
And the band guy who eventually Denise hooks up with seems to be a fully an adult.
Yeah.
And we didn't mention this, but there's a story that Rick tells Terry about the first time he lost his virginity.
Right, which
Where
was a-
his
a
dad died or something, and an older woman at the wake
Yeah.
wanted to make him feel better. And I was like, wait.
I missed that.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Gross.
was in the first
That was the
hangout at his house.
Yeah.
when they were
Rick, yeah,
having
Rick said about
brewskis.
his first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But,
often
like,
hear that
you
about men, like
seem-
boys when they're like teenagers having an older woman have sex with them, usually arranged by their dad. I hear that a lot in films. Like that's like a common.
I thought you were saying
like,
in life.
thing
I'm like,
no, in films.
who are
know
these guys that
someone-
you're talking about?
I know someone who is like that, who was like 16
I also
and
know
lost his
someone
virginity
who-
to like a 40-year-old woman.
I also know
fucking
someone
gross.
who's like that, whose dad arranged him to sleep with a prostitute for the first time.
Well, this guy wasn't a
Oh
prostitute.
my! I would murder my husband. I
Ew.
would murder.
I would have him
would
put. I mean, not
kill
my
him.
husband would never do that, but this fictional husband would go to jail for that shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to take a moment to appreciate the pink zebra suit that the guitarist was wearing in that band.
I don't think I
It wasn't.
noticed that.
Not
notice
only
that
was
either.
it pink with zebra print head to toe,
Nice.
but it was also sparkly. It was like something that would have been worn in Gem and the Holograms.
Hell yeah.
So they're dancing. The dance
Yeah.
sequence goes on for quite some time. Terry noticeably does not like Rick and Deb are just like
In it to
necking
win it.
on the
he
dance
is super
dance sand
affectionate.
floor.
They are just
I'm not sure what to call it.
smooching it up on the dance floor
Yeah.
like it's not their first time hanging out
No.
ever.
No.
That's kind of weird.
He's like kissing her neck
And if I were going to prom with someone, having broken up with a dude literally the day before,
yeah.
there'd be some awkwardness or some space.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Why
dancing,
are they dancing
right
next to each other?
Greg.
Yeah.
Like right.
It's
Like they're like right next to Greg.
Yeah. And it's like Deb and Rick don't even notice because they're too busy making out. That would never happen in real life.
Right.
It would be awkward as hell.
And Terry's not happy about it.
No.
So Terry goes off to Denise goes off to go hit on the old man who's singing in the band.
Right.
Terry goes over to the refreshments table and runs into Sandy, who apologizes.
Right.
She actually says, "I feel like a visitor from the planet of the sluts."
Yeah, which was a huge bummer of a line, but
Well, I mean, it's like that's kind of the line in the sand, though, isn't it? The literal sand. It's like the women in this movie. They're either good girls
yeah, that's
Or
true.
there's
or they're sluts, right?
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Well, that's true for life.
But I wouldn't even say Sandy seems particularly like slutty as a character. Like even in 80s movies where there is kind of that trope. I'm not saying any sexually aggressive woman is a slut, but I'm saying there is like a type that is pushed in, especially in the 1980s films. But she just seems like a girl who
sweet.
Yeah, she seems like a girl who is attracted to Terry and is really trying
cool with saying, yeah, I like you. I'm gonna whip
she
my
wants
top off.
she wants to get in there.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with
And
that.
I also think,
but she's being reduced to that
young
label.
Girls probably see stuff like that in the media and think that that's what you do to have sex. You like buy lingerie and you like seduce someone and
absolutely. But again, it's like I'm going to come back to this topic again. And again, I think it's because the actor is so convincing as a teenage boy to me. Yeah. Like it's like I forget at points that it is a girl. But again, it's that, conversation they're having where she's like, I really like you. And like he can't just say like, or Terry can't just say, I'm not attracted to women, so I can't be with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so she ends up apologizing for being attracted to him. And he just kind of awkwardly doesn't really know what to do with that, you know?
Right.
Anyway. And meanwhile, while she's having this whole conversation, Terry is busy watching Rick. With Deborah the whole time.
And
then back to the house, Kevin comes in and
shows up at Terry's house.
Right.
Where Buddy is.
Bud to show him where Terry is. And then Buddy is like, okay.
He pretty quickly sells Terry out. Like it is not difficult. And in fact is like, take me with you because I don't want to miss this show.
Point in the film, this is when the big reveal has to happen.
Yes, we're all kind of going towards this big reveal. So the next thing that happens is we have the reveal of the prom king and queen, which
no
Greg and Deb.
There.
Yeah.
Greg and Deb. Greg is thinking he can put the moves on Deb here and get a dance with her. And Deb, who, by the way, we didn't talk a lot about Deborah.
She's not bad, man.
I like Deborah.
Yeah,
I like her too.
Yeah.
Again,
cool
seems
girl.
like a grounded chick. Could have been a real one-dimensional popular girl character, but Deborah seems like a normal chick who just was in a relationship with a real tool.
And when she accepts the crown and when she's like, oh, yeah. And she's like, what? I think that we're going to not have the first dance because it's traditional bullshit. Or I don't know.
She's like, it's stupid. That tradition is stupid. Everybody dance.
Yeah.
So once that happens, Greg starts putting on his beat the shit out of someone gloves.
Like an axe murderer.
Which he's been wearing the whole movie. Fingerless gloves.
Kill someone.
Yeah.
It's on. This is when things get really chaotic. Greg goes down and just straight up punches Rick in the face.
And this fight scene I really did like. I thought it was funny. Like the choreography wasn't great. I mean, those were super fake punches. But
okay, we haven't gotten there yet. I really want to address that fight scene. What happened? So this is not because he knocks out Rick. First, and then Terry jumps on Greg's back.
And that's what I thought was funny. It was like Terry jumping on his back. Like, I was amused by it.
Yeah.
And then Greg just like picks and just like holds Terry like above his head and then throws her in the ocean.
Which for a second there, I was like, I kind of wanted Terry to react and like a little bit more in his man character. It seemed very like, oh, how dare you?
Well,
and I was a little bothered by
like
that.
A girl. She was like, ah!
Yeah, like all of that bothered me a little bit until Buddy shows up. And Buddy sees his sister get thrown in the ocean, which I thought this was really a sweet moment where he then jumps on Greg's back and does the exact same thing. And then I was like, okay, I'll accept this.
He's like, where'd you guys learn to fight?
Yeah, so that was very funny to me. And then Rick confronts Greg and is like, hey, why don't you fight me now that we're man to man, face to face or whatever. And that's when the worst fight scene ever happens.
Yeah, that was bad.
It was like those punches were conservatively like 3 feet away from each person's face.
It was bad. They were not convincing punches.
You know when you're in like theater in high school and somebody like learns stage combat and decides to like stage like a stage combat scene?
Yeah.
It was like that. This fight ends with Greg being thrown onto the buffet table, which I'd like to point out is a classic 80s move.
Yeah.
And it looked like the table was so fake. The table was like a board and 4 sticks.
Yeah.
And like a fruit tower or something. And then Kevin shows up and is like does not seem as bothered as you would think.
Yes.
About Terry dressed like
He's
a
like
man.
tuxedo.
He's like, that's weird. Why are you wearing a tuxedo?
Yeah.
My dear. Like, he's like, hey, I'm Terry's boyfriend. Like, everybody is like, oh, okay. Oh, Terry's gay.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense. And nobody seems to be bothered by it. And Kevin doesn't seem to have any self-awareness, or if he does not seem to care that everyone now thinks he's in a relationship with a gay man. Also, at this point is when I noticed that Buddy was wearing a tuxedo shirt.
I loved that.
I didn't see
I
that.
saw that.
He dressed up in a tuxedo
But he
shirt to go to the
changed.
prom.
He sold his sister out, had time to change, and still got there in time.
Was it
He's like, wait,
sleeveless?
if we're gonna go to prom,
It probably was
Better
sleeveless.
be a tuxedo shirt.
So the next scene, this is, I think, one of the most memorable scenes from the movie. In general, like in pop culture, I think this scene has been talked about a lot. Whenever somebody talks about this movie, this is the big scene. This is the Terry's reveal to Rick that he is a she.
when she starts the conversation, Rick's like, "It's okay, I know, you're gay." Yeah, and then that's when she tells him that no, I'm actually female. He doesn't believe her.
Yep.
And then she rips open her top
And
to show her boobs.
nothing underneath, just boobs.
Just boobs.
Yes, and then he says the famous line, "Where do you get off having tits?"
Where do you get off having tits?
Which I don't like the line, but I also find it very funny.
I think that line is very funny.
I think it's a really funny line.
Yeah.
And an interesting reaction, because he's not like, he's upset, but he's not upset like, oh, I can't believe I spent all this time with a dude and was actually a girl. Like, he's like feels betrayed for being lied to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's upsetting to him.
Yeah.
And he's not at all upset about the idea that Terry is, when he thinks Terry's gay, he's not upset by that at all. He's not threatened by that at all. He's just like, it's okay. I understand.
I actually love that
It's
moment. Where he's
quite-
like, I get it, you're gay. And she's like, yeah, that was actually
surprising
great.
to me.
I will say the filmmaking choice
period.
of showing her boobs, though, did really bug
Yes,
me.
that
It
bugged
wasn't
me too.
necessary to the story. Like, we know she is a woman,
Yeah.
and we don't need to see her boobs.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been done as like a behind shot,
Right.
where like you just see her open her shirt, and then
You're
Yes,
totally right.
you're
So,
right.
yeah.
we didn't need to see her boobs.
I
It
see
was
that.
like something that was thrown
Gratuitous
in there,
boob
like,
shot.
well, if girls are gonna drag their boyfriends to to this movie, we gotta put something in there for
Yeah.
them. We gotta
Yeah.
give them some boobs, otherwise no dudes are gonna come see this movie. And I don't know, it was just a bummer to me because I was just
It
like, I didn't
was.
need to see that. It was just like, I like a good boob, just like everyone else, but
It felt
like, it didn't need to be there.
exploitative.
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, it was shocking. I can see it both ways. I think it was meant to be shocking.
But I
think,
saw it coming a mile away.
well, of course, but I think the image of this person that even though we know she's a woman, again, there were moments where I really kind of forgot that she was a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even hear as I'm talking about this movie in the podcast, like referring to her as him and so forth.
Right.
And so I think the image, just to take the other side of it, I think the image of this person we've kind of come to know as sort of a man, and that this other person has come to know as a man. The shocking image of seeing that person dressed in a tuxedo, opening the shirt in the boot, like I think you could read it as I think you can definitely read it as maybe that's a little exploitive, but also I think I could also see, and I never spoke to her about the scene, so I don't know if this was her thinking, but I can also see the director being like, we need this image. Like, we need that shocking moment. We need to see it from Rick's perspective and how shocking that would be. Because, in a way, it's like, do you feel the shock that he feels if you just see it from behind? I don't know.
But if we could see the shock on his face, I feel like the moment would have read better for me versus like,
But
where
then-
it's just like, eh.
Doesn't it become kind of campy if we're seeing a guy go, whoa? You know what I mean? Like, especially, let's face it, Rick, not the strongest actor.
Yeah, I know, but
So-
maybe that was it. They were just like, well, we can't show his face. So,
So let's
Like,
distract him with some
like
boobs.
a very
Yeah.
tasteful movie like Boys Don't Cry, they had to show Hilary Swank
Yeah.
nude so that you understood the gravity of it.
So I see your point. And I do think it's probably part of that 80s trope again, where you're doing the 80s sex comedy. And so you got to have the boobs in it. So I see that side of it. I also see where it's an artistic choice to really bring that shock that Rick is feeling in the moment. And
I just disagree because I don't see the shock in it at all.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the whole time this
Yeah.
is
It
a
was
girl.
an
and I
emotional
don't think
shock
it's
for me because I'm not. It was like the entire movie was a little tame, you know, like,
Yeah.
and this was like a really like, she really like bared herself, and
Yeah.
it was really like, it was like emotionally shocking. It wasn't like actually shocking. It was just
and she's
like,
she seems very vulnerable to me even after that, because she's like, her shirt is kind of half buttoned. We know she's not wearing anything underneath. Now everybody is going to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I see your point, but in this case, I feel like there were a lot of moments where her body was exploited in this movie. The opening shot, the shot at of her at the pool. This was one moment where I did not feel that, but I totally see why you would have that perspective on that. Okay, so the next thing that happens is Rick is mad. He leaves, and then Terry tries to kisses Rick, which is, I did not remember happening in the movie, but I kind of see where that was going, and kind of a bold move to do in front of everyone. And again, nobody seems to be really upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
they're all like,
whoa. Oh,
yeah.
you know. And then Rick leaves, and Terry, in a very adorable way, is just kind of like, "Oh, gee, look at the time. I've got to go." And just kind of like really slips out of there. And then Kevin tries to hit on somebody who is just not. She's like,
I was afraid that she was gonna like rip her top off for everyone, like be like, oh yeah, by the way. Yeah.
But they're actually, before Rick says, "Oh, look at the time, I gotta go," Rick says to the crowd, "It's okay, everybody.
You're right.
She's got tits.
Oh,
he's got tits.
Does he say he's got tits or she's got tits? Maybe it's he's got tits.
He's got tits.
He's got.
You're right.
Tits.
You're right. So he just kind of out her in front of everyone.
Yeah,
but everyone's but people don't.
Very un-Rick-like, I think.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
It's like it has tinges of homophobia. It also has tinges of like
transphobia.
Yeah, transphobia, and it doesn't seem like Rick's character.
You're right. That is that I remember now what you're talking about, and I do remember going, oh. Yeah, it seemed a little out of character for him. And also, generally, the crowd.
Was like an 80s.
But they didn't seem to get it. They were like.
Well, it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But also, like, anybody did get it, they reacted in a very like kind of way. Like, it didn't seem to move anybody or surprise them. Okay, so when Terry gets back from prom,
right?
Buddy and Sandy are
Boning.
doing it in the room plastered with porn.
He lost his cherry.
Yeah.
He dipped his wick.
He dipped his wick.
Terry just awkwardly stands in the doorway and reflects on the evening.
I know.
Right?
It's like, hey, great for you guys. This isn't weird at all.
Yeah.
Since
I know you're probably
the
inside her,
like,
little
"We're
bro,
cool."
but I still need to open up.
and they're like chit-chatting. It's like if you walked up on your parents having like bagels and coffee. When I walked up on your parents, Hillary got the most terrified look in her eyes.
No.
They just very casually like chit-chatting with her. No awkwardness between Buddy.
Yeah.
Real romantic.
Well, I mean, they were
Easy,
kept
casual.
their character that they had for the rest of the movie, but so it did seem like their characters, but he didn't seem like a virgin the whole time.
All right, so she has an awkward conversation with them and eventually leaves, and then so now she's back at school. Mm-hmm. She's switched magically back to this other school. So the article has come out, and she got the Tribune job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everyone in town has read this article. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everyone in town has apparently read that article because they're all coming up to her and telling her how good it is.
I really like the part where you wrote about how you can be cool even if you don't wear cool clothes.
You want to hang out? No. Okay, bye.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That nerd that hits on her, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, this ends with him hitting on her, of course.
Yep.
But I think the big scene here at this end part is that she talks to the original teacher who rejected her article, and he's like seems genuinely sorry.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm really sorry about the way that I treated you.
Right.
This was like the in summation scene. The this is what we taught each other.
Right. Well, he's apologizing. I think the actor seemed very genuine, so I did really like him in that scene. But also, like, the character is icky. But also, like, Terry is kind of like, it's okay, I'm sorry that, and it's like, wait a minute, what are you apologizing for?
Yeah.
Like, you should just be like, you're damn right, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we fast forward in time.
But yeah, she's at the Chicago.
Well, we fast forward in time. We can tell
Tribune.
because her hair has grown out a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's wearing some kind of Little House on the Prairie dress.
Yeah.
Because they're like, remember, she's a girl now, guys. She's a girl. Buddy shows up. He has a license now.
Yeah, and he runs over a curb.
And Rick shows up spontaneously.
Uh-huh.
Now, I was confused. Did Rick just kind of like roll up on the car, or was he like hiding in the back seat? Like, did Buddy bring him? I'm confused.
That was really weird scene.
Like, how did he end up
He
in
just appeared.
the downtown area so quickly?
Yeah. So I guess so then on the scene, then they make up or whatever.
Right.
But
He's like, I missed you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they end up driving off into the sunset.
Well-
but what I don't like is that he says, yeah, but how about as long as you let me drive?
Right.
Yeah.
That just did not end the movie well with me.
know.
Where it was like, we're going to drive off into the sunset, but I'm driving.
Yeah, we're
wink,
gonna
wink.
stick to
It's
our
like,
traditional
yeah.
gender roles.
Yep, balance has been
Yeah.
restored, and
It's
I'm the
not
man
your
in the
car,
relationship,
dick.
and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I know, that bothered me a lot, too.
First, Terry asked him out. And then he says, "I'm the guy."
Yeah.
Then he asked her out this same thing, and she says they go for a drive, and then he says that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, the I'm the guy thing was like pushing it a little bit for me, but they seemed to be joking, so I was like, okay. But then when he was like, I'll drive, I was like, oh, go fuck yourself.
I know.
She's like,
Go fuck yourself, movie.
I don't know. I was unimpressed at the end. I was just like, of course, all right, everybody gets the guy in the end.
it would have been a better ending had he drove up in that car and then he joked, I'm the guy, let me ask you out. And then she said, okay, fine, but I'm driving. And she drove his car off. That would have been a far better ending to the movie.
God,
I think
would've
that
loved
would
that.
be the
That would have been awesome.
picture perfect ending of equality.
We're almost done here, but I did want to mention that Buddy gets picked up by a biker chick at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
is
it
really
was
What
weird.
the fuck was
It
that?
was the girl from the high school who was really easy. I forget.
Was
They
it?
mentioned her earlier.
No, the one
Yeah.
wearing the Guess jeans.
Yeah, something like that. That was like, she'll sleep with anybody, something like that. And like, she's like
God, I
this
don't
big,
remember
like
that at
blonde
all.
biker chick. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I did not know that was a callback.
She
I thought this
was-
was a new chick that just randomly showed up, and I was like,
No, I'm fairly certain it was like the girl from earlier in it. Because I think there's a scene where she like pulls up in front of the school or something, and they're
I was
like,
very
"Oh yeah,
confused.
that's blah blah blah. She's so easy."
Again, I think it would have been a better ending had he, rode off with Sandy.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
like, "Where is Sandy?"
yeah.
I know it sucks because he's like, well,
That was
banged
like
that
the
chick.
shittiest ending. It was like
I
new
know
girl.
the ending. The
and-
ending was very disappointing. Like
Yeah.
I really did not. I was not happy with the ending.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like
At the end of A Nightmare on Elm Street, when the car turns into
right.
Freddy,
It's like,
and,
is Freddy
murders
gonna come
everybody at the
out and
end.
like they're gonna drive away and like the top's gonna come up and it's gonna be a Freddy top?
right,
It, like,
feeling
negated
uneasy.
everything that had just happened in the
It
last
made me
half
feeling
hour.
uneasy. Yes,
Yes.
you're right. It's like I
Yes.
don't quite understand what's happening. Is this reality?
Exactly.
Why has she been dressed like a really rad 80s chick the entire movie and now she's
now
dressed
she looks like Little House on the Prairie.
yeah, what is this weird
And
peasant dress
Rick
she's
was
wearing?
cool as shit, and then he just said like two sexist things back to back.
You're right. It's like an alternative universe.
Yeah, it's not a good ending.
Final thoughts on Just One of the Guys.
I could go without watching this movie ever again.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I didn't not like it. I was like, all right, whatever. I mean, it was a movie that I watched.
Wow.
I'm not gonna go like pick it up again and be like, oh, I want to watch this. But I don't know.
It's not
Yeah,
as bad as
I
like
just-
Love Story, right?
No, not as bad as Love Story.
Okay.
No, but like I just like I wish that it was more about like a woman who was really trying to like investigate something like journalistically and was like
Aaron
thrown
Brockovich.
undercover as a dude to like
Ooh.
investigate.
Like there was
the,
some scandal at the new other
like
school
some
or
sort of
something.
scandal, you know, like
Yeah.
and not just I'm gonna dress as a dude and find other dudes' dates and try to do this thing. I don't know. I just like didn't see the point in any of
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Like
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't see myself seeing this again. Not that I didn't like it. I mean, it was cute at times. It seemed like a bad version of a John Hughes movie, or like a
Interesting.
less skillfully made John Hughes movie. I don't know. Which I'm not a big fan of John Hughes movies too. So I don't
Interesting.
know, but I laughed at times.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I saw it, but it's not
Okay.
my jam.
It's not your jam.
This movie, when I was a kid, was like very, like, it was a very important movie to me when I was a kid. In fact, like when I was in the 6th grade, my friend Melissa Baravecchio and I, we just wanted the guys our 6th grade class because we thought our teacher was being sexist. His name was Mr. O'Neill, coincidentally, same last name as me. And we thought that he was actually an amazing teacher. He was a great teacher. Yeah. But he was so great to us that he let our class be a democracy. He actually encouraged us to speak up about it this is in no ways against Mr. O'Neill. He was amazing. Right. But Melissa and I felt that we thought it wasn't fair that when we had like chill time in the class, the girls had to stay inside, but the boys got to go outside and play basketball.
What? Yeah. That's fucking bullshit.
And that was his way of like bonding with the dudes, but he didn't realize how sexist that was. Bullshit. That like we had to stay inside and just like do math problems. What? Or just stay dumb.
Well, you should have been inside doing your cross stitch.
Exactly. Yeah. We should have been cleaning the classroom.
Yeah, you should have been cleaning or making them a sandwich or something. So they get really hungry after playing basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
They needed some lemonade.
We should have been making their snacks. And so we decided to take him, Mr. O'Neill, the teacher, to classroom court. Yeah. And to make a statement, Melissa and I decided to dress like guys. But when we finally went to classroom court, this is so dumb, and now that I know, as an adult, now that I know that this would never stand up in court, but they won because I guess during like the trial, Melissa and I would say things to the guys like, we're going to beat you, we're going to cream you, we're going to whatever. Yeah. And so like, I remember during the court case, my, Mr. O'Neill took out a dictionary and he made us like repeat the things that we had said, like, what does it mean when you say that you're going to murder us or that you're going to cream us or you're going to pulverize us or whatever? But what we meant was we're going to beat you in this court case. Yeah. So he made us read it out of the dictionary, and then he said that the case got thrown out because we were being threatening or whatever.
Which really means he just was not wanting to get convicted in his own school court for being a fucking sexist, which really... used sexism to beat you guys in court.
Exactly. And so we were like, okay, I guess we lost. And so
you're like, oh, the system got me again, and because I'm a child, I will accept it.
Exactly. Yeah. We were like 6th grade kids, but we made the statement of all week long dressing like dudes because of this movie. Yeah. And
wow, that's amazing.
But the whole, like, just the fact that we were able to stand up and speak out and be like, what you're doing is wrong. Yeah. You're, 30 years older than I am.
This movie
I'm taking you
gave
to court.
you the power.
Yeah. It inspired us to stand up and be like, no, this is bullshit.
That's amazing.
And we're going to take you to court. So when I was a kid, it was very influential and important to me. But watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is a garbage movie.
Right. Well...
But it was important to me then.
Interestingly, I had a totally different reaction to all of you guys, because when I was a kid, I kind of thought this is a dumb garbage movie that's entertaining, and there's a lot of jokes about balls and boobs in it. So what's there not to like about it? Even
a garbage movie is not fair. I take that back. It's not a garbage movie. No. It's just not as
it's fluff.
It's fluff compared to what I thought when I was younger.
Now, I thought that very much so. And then I still thought that even at 25 when I watched it, when I realized that my film professor had directed it. Mm-hmm. And this time I really appreciated the subtext of the movie and some of the writing, and also just generally the accomplishment of a woman directing this movie and grounding it in reality in a time period where very few women directed movies at all. Yeah. And where this movie, I think, and I know it was cheesy and over the top, and there was a lot of like, weird exploitive moments in it. But if you think about how far it could have gone had it not been, I feel like had it been directed by a different person, I think the movie was actually pretty grounded in a weird way. I think that
I think for that time it definitely was.
Yeah, for the time that it came out in. To have the character actually play a man very seriously and not for comedy. So I really appreciated the subtlety of that, as well as the just generally like how this might have mirrored the way a person would feel, like a person like the director Lisa Gottlieb might have felt living in a world surrounded by men, in an industry surrounded by men, and then directing this movie about wanting to take down that system by living through that system as a man. Like in a way, like I think it's changing a little bit, but I think a lot of women feel like in order to succeed in a male-dominated industry, they have to take on male characteristics. I mean, in the 1980s, there was like the whole power suit situation and the shoulder pads, and you're like, it's not enough to just be a woman and be strong and successful. Like you have to take on male characteristics to be accepted as a successful person. So I actually feel like I underestimated this movie for a really long time. And it was actually, I think, one of the more nuanced films that we've watched. That was my take on it, which I know is really different than what you guys thought, but I thought there was a lot more to the movie than I first thought. And yeah, there's some bad acting in it. And yes, there's some really over the top moments, but when you contextualize the time period that it was in, I actually feel like this movie impressed me a lot in what it had to say that I didn't see before.
I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
Welcome to Nervous Breakdowns. This is the part of the show where we read truly awful casting breakdowns. Casting breakdowns, of course, are documents that go out looking for actors. They describe the type, the age, the gender that they're looking for. I've got one here. I'm not going to out where this came from, but as an actor, I do belong to several sites which send me casting breakdowns that I hardly ever apply for, because many of them are like this. So take it away, Jen.
Seeking unnamed love interest, gender female, ethnicity biracial, age range 18, 24 to play 21. An instrument player in an HBCU marching band struggles with dating and race issues, being the product of an interracial relationship. Seems to be searching for acceptance from both white and black society. Note role will involve a brief sex scene involving the use of brief toplessness, no full frontal, bareback exposed, briefly top of buttocks, no vagina. 1 week of marching band training rehearsals required to prepare for filming performance stunts. Storyline: Percy King, a talented musician, graduates from an H. That's what I just read.
Yeah. So I love how they throw that marching band thing in there at the end.
Is this not Drumline?
It sounds like it sounds like Drumline.
But topless, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw the whole movie.
I like that, but I feel like this person at least tried. It's unnamed love interest, has to show her boobs, but they're also just like, but she has a struggle.
That's okay, no vagina
though.
No
why
vagina.
is she unnamed?
Yeah, here's what cracks me up about this thing is that you're right, Hillary. They provided a very detailed description of this character, which ordinarily I would find admirable. For someone named unnamed love interest.
Yeah.
Who clearly is only being defined by some male character in the film.
And it's saying that she struggles with with her race and identity and interracial dating. It's like, so she has like an entire inner turmoil and struggle, but not enough to have a name.
Can't give her a name. Can't give her a name. Can't just say Sue.
Yeah.
Really, was it that hard?
And Karen shows her boobs.
And then a very detailed description of the nudity required for this part.
How much of your?
I mean, I think that if I were looking to be cast in something, I would prefer to know up front what was going to happen. That
was quite detailed.
But it was very detailed.
That was a very long description.
How do you know that before you even shoot the movie? Like, how do you even know?
Technically, I've been reading up recently on some
on the subject
of nudity and casting and sort of having guidelines for that. And that is one of the things that they suggest, especially for non-equity places, is you have to disclose all nudity, like exactly what will be shown before auditioning anyone. Because if they're coming in for an audition, you don't want to waste their time by being like, also, I'm going to show your boobs. And they're just going to be like, well, I wasn't okay with that, or like, I was okay with my bare back being shown, but not the top of my ass. And like,
but also it's like, I have to question like how important that is to the story.
Yeah,
I know. Nudity.
They've already.
I mean, you're already making me question your legitness by sending me this character that says unnamed love interest.
Yeah.
Which really is what caught my eye in the first place.
Right.
Because it just pops up with the name of a character when you get these notifications.
Right.
And I saw the character name and I was like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, and then I opened it up and I was like, God, this is like such a long description for someone who doesn't even have a name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so ladies,
but they do mention the male character's name at the bottom of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Ladies, if you've got dreams, big dreams, you too can one day hopefully snag the role of unnamed love interest. Welcome to Plug It Up. So this is where we talk a little bit about what we are doing and what our guest is doing and plug things. Jen, why don't you go first?
Well, I will be at I have a few festivals coming up. I will be at Laugh Your Asheville Off in Asheville on August 9th. And then August 27th through the 28th, I will be at Accidental Comedy Fest in Cleveland. And then October, I believe, 10th through the 16th, I will be in New Orleans for Hell Yes Fest. And then I have a show that I'm producing with Ian Aber and Travis Jones, who are amazing, at the Brigantine Beer Parlor in East Atlanta. It's called Date Night, and that will be on August 16th. So come out for that. And then...
Awesome. Where can they find tickets to some of these things?
Well, the festivals, you can find them all online.
Okay. So just Google the name of the festival.
Yeah. And then date night, we just, it's $5 per couple or $5 per person. So we encourage people to come as a couple. It doesn't have to be somebody you're really dating. Just bring a person. And
just somebody off of Tinder.
How do you feel about thruples?
Thruples?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I got a thruple.
Yeah. We encourage everyone to come.
All
Thruples
types
or a couple.
of configurations. But is there like a website for date night or a Facebook group?
There's a Facebook event page. You can just look it up on date night, but we just charge cash at the door. We don't do pre-sale
And where?
tickets.
I'm sorry, where was the venue again?
It's called the restaurant is called Argosy in East Atlanta, but it's the back room, which is the Brigantine Beer Parlor, which is a really, really, really cool room.
Nice.
Yeah, they have skee ball and a giant squid.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's cool.
Okay, cool.
That sounds great.
All right, well, that sounds awesome. And do you have any like website or anything? Like, where can they find out more about
JenO'NeillSmith.com?
JenO'neillSmith.com.
And then I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Jen O'Neill Smith.
Rad. Cool.
Rad.
Keep up with this lady and her comedy career.
Party time. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a blast. Sarah, do you have anything you would like to plug?
I still have Hi Grandma available to watch on Vimeo. And we are about to start editing Dick Pic Professional.
That's right.
In a month or so.
That's true.
So yeah.
So look out for that coming.
Well, PYT's web show, always available online for you to watch. New episodes coming out later this summer. And you can check out our Indiegogo page.
Yes, please.
Critical Crop Top, Women in Comedy. You can find it on Indiegogo. You can watch the video we filmed there and donate money.
Please
and
give
we'll
us money.
Send you a shirt or some stickers.
Yeah, we got cool prizes.
Yeah.
If you want to swoop in and be a hero for $1,000,
exactly,
you can be a VIP.
Well, no, there's stickers.
They get tickets.
Yeah, they get tickets to a live event.
Correct.
That we're throwing, and also a sticker, a thank you tweet, a thank you in the credits, a T-shirt,
a thank you video,
and a thank you video. Yes.
Yes. Indeed.
So
there are annotated scripts, some Dick art.
Yeah, there's actually one of the reward tiers for, I believe, is it 500?
I think it's 500.
For 500, if you donate 500, you get an original piece of artwork. And I'm not just talking about like a print. I'm talking about a piece of artwork on a canvas.
Dick art.
Yeah.
That is
Dick art
beautiful,
should be one
beautiful
name.
Dick art that was featured in the background and in the shots of Dick Pic Professional,
Nice.
the film,
Yep.
including aggressive penis with bird on top.
Yes.
My personal favorite.
Yes. Yes, please check out our Indiegogo campaign. That's really, I think, all I'm going to plug this week as well, or this month. The Indiegogo campaign, I believe, runs through.
Or no,
Is it
maybe
August
we
12th?
started
on the
that.
15th.
I thought it was the 12th.
We
or
started on the
13th.
15th. We started on the 13th. We
Wow,
started on the
we're really
13th.
organized, you guys. I'm pretty sure it's
It
like
ends
the 13th.
second week of August.
I'm pretty sure it's like the 13th that is the last day. We're trying to raise a total of $6,000 for the programming that we would like to bring you for the remainder of this year. We've got some other things planned later after that, but this would really help us to bring you the things we've got in store for you and set us on a path at which we could bring you some other great content we've got waiting in the wings. So please consider dropping by the Indiegogo campaign and making a donation. We would appreciate it. All right, so I think that wraps it up for our discussion of Just One of the Guys.
Yeah.
It's been a blast. I've had a good time talking with you guys about this movie.
Yeah.
You can subscribe to this podcast, Feminine Mistake Podcast, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on SoundCloud. And you can visit us on Facebook. You can visit Critical Crop Top on Twitter. Critical Crop is on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We have a Facebook page. We're on Vimeo. And we would love to hear from you. So please send us your nervous breakdowns, if you've got any. We'd like to read them on the show. And correspondence to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com.